Emma Rivera's reflection in the restaurant window showed a woman who had learned to disappear. At 28, she moved through Romano's dining room like a ghost, refilling water glasses and clearing plates without anyone truly seeing her. The elegant patrons talked over her, through her, around her, discussing business deals and vacation homes as if she were simply part of the furniture. Her feet ached in the second-hand heels she wore for these upscale shifts. The regular diner where she worked mornings paid barely enough to cover rent, but Romano's evening shifts, despite the demanding clientele, added crucial dollars to her survival fund. Every penny mattered when raising Lily alone. The October rain hammered against the windows, turning Michigan Avenue into a river of headlights and umbrellas. Emma glanced at the clock, 9:45. Mrs. Chen, her elderly neighbor, had agreed to watch Lily until 11, but Emma hated pushing that boundary. Lily had school tomorrow, and the 6-year-old needed her mother, not just a tired woman who stumbled home after bedtime. "Table 12 needs attention," Marco, the floor manager, whispered sharply as he passed. His tone carried the perpetual disapproval he reserved for staff he considered beneath Romano's standards. Emma had worked there for 8 months, yet he still looked at her like she might steal the silverware. Table 12 sat in the private corner section, reserved for Romano's most important guests. Emma rarely served that area. Those tables went to Sofia or Gabriella, servers who spoke flawless Italian and whose families had connections in the neighborhood. But tonight, Sofia had called in sick, and the section needed coverage. Emma smoothed her black apron and approached the table where 4 men sat in expensive suits, their conversation low and intense. She recognized the type immediately. Not just wealthy, but powerful. The kind of men who shaped Chicago's landscape with phone calls and handshakes, who controlled territory and loyalty with equal efficiency. "Good evening, gentlemen. Can I offer you anything else this evening?" Her voice remained steady and professional, the script she had perfected through thousands of similar interactions. 3 of the men barely acknowledged her existence, continuing their discussion about construction permits and union negotiations. But the 4th man, seated at the head of the table, lifted his gaze and met hers directly. Vincent Marcelli was not conventionally handsome in the magazine model sense, but his presence commanded attention. Her dark hair touched with silver at the temples, sharp features that spoke of Italian heritage, and eyes, deep brown, almost black, that seemed to assess everything in a single glance. He appeared to be in his early 40s, wearing authority as naturally as his tailored suit. "Coffee," he said simply, his voice carrying a subtle accent that suggested roots in the old neighborhood. "Black." Emma nodded and turned toward the kitchen. But as she did, her heel caught on the edge of the ornate carpet. Time slowed in that horrible way it does during disasters. She stumbled forward, the empty wine bottle she was carrying slipping from her grasp. She reached for the table to steady herself, but instead her hand knocked over a full glass of Barolo, sending deep red wine cascading across the white tablecloth directly onto Vincent Marcelli's lap. The conversation stopped instantly. The entire restaurant seemed to hold its breath. Emma's heart hammered against her ribs as she grabbed napkins with trembling hands. "I'm so sorry, sir. I'm so incredibly sorry. Please let me—" "Don't." His voice was quiet, but carried absolute authority. He stood, wine dripping from his expensive trousers, and looked down at her. Emma forced herself to meet his gaze, expecting rage, disgust, or the cold dismissal she had learned to anticipate from wealthy men whose evening she had ruined. Instead, she found something unexpected in his expression: curiosity. "What's your name?" he asked, ignoring the wine staining his clothes. "Emma. Emma Rivera." Her voice barely rose above a whisper. Behind Vincent, she could see Marco approaching with panic in his eyes, already calculating how to salvage the situation, already preparing to fire her. "Emma." Vincent repeated her name as if testing its weight. He reached into his jacket and pulled out a business card, pressing it into her shaking hand. Call this number tomorrow afternoon, 2 o'clock. Sir, I don't Mr. Marcelli, I apologize profusely, Marco interrupted, practically pushing Emma aside. This server will be disciplined immediately. Your meal is complimentary, of course, and we'll cover any cleaning expenses. Vincent raised one hand, silencing Marco mid-sentence. His eyes never left Emma's face. Tomorrow, 2 o'clock. Don't make me repeat myself. Then he walked toward the exit, his associates following like a protective formation. The entire exchange had lasted perhaps 90 seconds, but Emma felt as if the ground beneath her feet had fundamentally shifted. She looked down at the card in her hand. Simple, elegant lettering. Vincent Marcelli, private consultations. Below it, a phone number, nothing else. You're suspended, Marco hissed in her ear. Pending review. Go home. Emma removed her apron with numb fingers, grabbed her worn coat from the back room, and stepped out into the Chicago rain. The cold water soaked through her thin jacket immediately, but she barely noticed. For the first time in 3 years, since Daniel had left her with nothing but debt and a daughter to raise, someone had actually seen her. Not as a waitress, not as an obstacle, not as invisible, but as a person worth remembering. The question was, why? And what would Vincent Marcelli want from someone like her? Emma stood outside her apartment building at 1:55 the following afternoon, staring at Vincent Marcelli's business card, as if it might suddenly offer explanations. The morning had passed in a blur of anxiety and second-guessing. She had dropped Lily at school, fielded a text from Marco confirming her suspension, and changed clothes 3 times before settling on her only decent pair of jeans and a navy sweater that hid how thin she had become from skipping meals to ensure Lily ate well. The number on the card connected to a woman with a professional, measured voice who provided an address in River North, one of Chicago's most exclusive neighborhoods. Mr. Marcelli is expecting you at 2 o'clock sharp. Please use the private entrance on Hubbard Street. Now Emma stood before a converted warehouse building, all exposed brick and industrial chic windows, its street level occupied by a high-end art gallery. The private entrance led to an elevator that required a key card. As she hesitated, the door opened and a man in a dark suit emerged, one of the men from table 12 last night. Miss Rivera, he acknowledged with a slight nod, holding the door. Mr. Marcelli is on the top floor. The elevator was all polished brass and dark wood, rising silently through the building. Emma's reflection in the mirrored panels showed a woman trying to appear confident while her hands twisted nervously around her purse strap. What was she doing here? Men like Vincent Marcelli didn't help struggling waitresses out of kindness. Everyone wanted something. The elevator opened directly into a spacious loft with floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the Chicago River. The space was surprisingly understated. Leather furniture, dark wood floors, shelves lined with books rather than the ostentatious displays of wealth she had expected. Classical music played softly from hidden speakers. Vincent Marcelli stood by the windows, his back to her, phone pressed to his ear. He spoke in rapid Italian, his tone clipped and authoritative. Emma caught only fragments, something about shipments and schedules, about loyalty and consequences. He ended the call and turned to face her. In daylight, without the restaurant's dim ambiance, Emma could see him more clearly. The lines around his eyes spoke of someone who smiled rarely, but genuinely. A thin scar traced his left jawline, barely visible. His clothing today was more casual, dark slacks and a charcoal sweater, but no less expensive. You came, he observed, as if there had been doubt. Would you like coffee, something to eat? I'd like to know why I'm here. Emma forced strength into her voice that she didn't quite feel. A ghost of a smile crossed Vincent's features. Direct. I appreciate that. He gestured toward the leather sofa. Please sit. This conversation requires context. Emma remained standing. I can't afford to owe powerful men favors, Mr. Marcelli. Whatever you think I can do for you. I don't want anything from you, Emma. He interrupted gently. I want to offer you something. But first, I need you to understand why. He moved to a sideboard and poured 2 glasses of water from a crystal pitcher, offering her one. Emma accepted it reflexively, her throat suddenly dry. "Last night, you spilled wine on me," Vincent began, a hint of amusement in his tone. Most people in that situation do one of 2 things. They grovel excessively or they become defensive. You did neither. You apologized honestly, looked me in the eye, and accepted responsibility. Do you know how rare that is? It was an accident. I was clumsy. Your heel caught on the carpet, a carpet I've told Romano to replace for 6 months because it's a hazard, not clumsiness, circumstance. He took a sip of water. But that wasn't what caught my attention. It was your eyes. Emma shifted uncomfortably. I don't understand. You looked exhausted, not just tired from a long shift, but worn down by life. Yet when you looked at me, there was no calculation, no attempt to manipulate the situation to your advantage. Just genuine regret for an accident. Vincent set down his glass. I had you researched this morning. I hope you'll forgive the intrusion. But I don't make decisions blindly. Ice flooded Emma's veins. You investigated me. I learned that you're 28, divorced for 3 years from Daniel Rivera, who left you with significant debt. You have a daughter, Lily, age 6. You work at Mel's Diner on the North Side mornings, and 4 evenings a week at Romano's. Or you did until last night. You're 3 months behind on rent, your car was repossessed in August, and you take the bus everywhere now. Your daughter attends Lakeside Elementary, and by all accounts, despite your struggles, she's thriving, which means you're sacrificing everything to give her stability. Emma's hands trembled. Hearing her life reduced to facts and failures felt like standing naked under harsh lights. Why would you do this? What do you want from me? Vincent's expression softened slightly. 12 years ago, I was married. Her name was Carolyn. She came from a good family, respectable, educated, everything my mother wanted for me. We had a daughter together, Sophia. She would be 10 now. The past tense wasn't lost on Emma. Her anger gave way to cautious attention. There was an accident, Vincent continued, his voice carefully controlled. A car crash on the Kennedy Expressway, black ice in January. Caroline and Sophia were heading to a piano lesson. A truck lost control. He paused, and Emma saw something human beneath the powerful exterior, grief, carefully contained but never truly healed. They died instantly. The police said they felt nothing. I don't know if that's true or something they tell families. I'm sorry, Emma whispered, genuine sympathy overriding her fear. Vincent nodded once, acknowledging her words. After they died, I threw myself into work, built an empire, made connections, became someone people feared and respected. His gaze met hers directly. But I forgot what it meant to see people, really see them, the way Caroline used to. She noticed everyone. The doorman, the grocery clerk, the woman struggling with strollers on the bus. She saw their humanity. Last night, watching you navigate that restaurant, invisible to everyone except as someone to serve them, I saw Caroline in you. Not physically, but that same quiet strength, that same determination to keep going despite everything. He moved closer but maintained a respectful distance. So I'm going to make you an offer, Emma, and I need you to listen carefully before you refuse. Emma's heart raced. What kind of offer? I own properties throughout Chicago. One of them is a townhouse in Lincoln Park, currently empty. 3 bedrooms, updated kitchen, safe neighborhood with good schools. I'm offering it to you rent-free for 2 years. Emma's water glass nearly slipped from her fingers. That's not possible. People don't just give away housing in Lincoln Park. I'm not giving it away. Consider it employment. Vincent's tone became businesslike. You'll work for me as a property manager for my residential holdings. The salary is $60,000 annually plus benefits. The townhouse is part of your compensation package. Your job will include tenant relations, maintenance coordination, and occasional event hosting. 20 hours a week, flexible schedule, so you can be present for your daughter. The numbers didn't make sense. The work he described shouldn't command that salary or those benefits. Emma's survival instincts screamed that nothing came without strings. "Why?" she asked bluntly. "Men like you don't help waitresses out of sentiment. What do you really want?" Vincent's expression hardened slightly, not with anger but with something like respect. "You're right to be suspicious. The truth? I want to do something that Caroline would have done if she were still alive. I want to give someone a chance when the world has given them nothing but obstacles. Call it penance, call it sentiment, call it whatever helps you accept. And if I refuse, then you walk out of here, return to your life, and I never contact you again. The choice is entirely yours, Emma. No pressure, no threats, no hidden clauses." Emma's mind raced. This could solve everything: Lily's stability, her constant financial terror, the grinding exhaustion of working 2 jobs. But accepting meant tying herself to a man whose power she didn't fully understand, whose world operated by rules she couldn't fathom. "I need time to think." "Of course, take 3 days. The offer remains open until Friday at 5. Vincent walked to a desk and retrieved a folder, offering it to her. "Everything is documented here. Employment contract, property details, salary structure. Have a lawyer review it if you'd like. I'll cover those costs." Emma took the folder with shaking hands. As she turned toward the elevator, Vincent spoke once more. "Emma, your daughter deserves a mother who isn't invisible, and you deserve to be seen." The elevator doors closed on his words, and Emma leaned against the brass railing, her reflection staring back at her with wide, uncertain eyes. For better or worse, Vincent Marcelli had offered her a lifeline. The question was whether she was brave enough or desperate enough to take it. 3 days felt simultaneously endless and impossibly short. Emma spent every spare moment analyzing the contract Vincent had provided, reading each clause with the paranoid attention of someone who had learned that good things often came with hidden costs. She even took it to legal aid, where a kind attorney named Patricia Rodriguez reviewed it with professional skepticism. "Honestly," Patricia had said after an hour of scrutiny, "this is the most straightforward employment contract I've ever seen. No non-compete clauses, no restrictions on your freedom, generous severance terms if either party terminates. The only unusual aspect is how favorable it is to you." She had looked up with curious eyes. "Who is this Vincent Marcelli, and what does he do?" Emma had shrugged, unwilling to voice her suspicions about Chicago's power structures and the men who operated in shadows. "He's in real estate and consulting." "Lucky you, then," Patricia had said, returning the folder. "If this is legitimate, take it. Opportunities like this don't come twice." Now Friday afternoon arrived, with autumn sunlight streaming through her apartment's single grimy window. Emma sat at her small kitchen table, the contract before her, pen in hand. Lily played in the living room with her worn stuffed rabbit, creating elaborate stories in that unself-conscious way children possessed before the world taught them to doubt their imagination. "Mama, are we moving?" Lily asked suddenly, her perception sharp despite her age. Emma looked at her daughter, dark curls that matched her own, Daniel's green eyes that Emma tried not to resent, and a spirit that somehow remained bright despite their struggles. Everything Emma did, every sacrifice, every exhausting shift was for Lily. "Would you like that?" Emma asked carefully. "Moving somewhere new?" Lily considered this with 6-year-old seriousness. "Would I have my own room? And could Mrs. Chen visit?" "Yes to both." "Then yes." Lily returned to her play without the hesitation that adults brought to life-changing decisions. Emma picked up her phone and dialed the number on Vincent's card. His assistant answered on the second ring. "This is Emma Rivera. Please tell Mr. Marcelli I accept his offer." The transition happened with startling efficiency. Within a week, Emma found herself standing in the Lincoln Park townhouse, hardly believing it was real. 3 stories of exposed brick and modern updates, hardwood floors throughout, a kitchen with appliances that actually worked, and a backyard, small but private, where Lily could play safely. The master bedroom on the third floor had an attached bathroom with a tub deep enough to actually submerge in. Emma had cried the first time she saw it, overwhelmed by such a simple luxury after years of broken showers and rust-stained fixtures. Vincent had been notably absent during the move, sending his associates to handle logistics. Professional movers packed and transported their meager belongings, a process that took less than 2 hours given how little they owned. The townhouse came furnished with tasteful, comfortable pieces that somehow didn't feel ostentatious. Emma's new office occupied a renovated space in a building Vincent owned near the Loop. Her co-worker, a man named Thomas Garrett, who managed commercial properties, had greeted her with friendly professionalism and genuine warmth. He was in his 50s, balding, with laugh lines that suggested he approached life without Vincent's intensity. "Vincent's a good man to work for," Thomas had assured her during their first meeting. "Demanding but fair, treats his people well, expects loyalty in return. You'll do fine, Emma." And the work itself proved manageable. Coordinating repairs, conducting property inspections, communicating with tenants. Emma discovered she had a knack for problem-solving and diplomacy, skills honed through years of managing difficult restaurant customers. The flexible schedule meant she could walk Lily to school each morning and be present for after-school pickups. For the first time in years, Emma breathed without that constant pressure crushing her chest. But Vincent Marcelli remained an enigma. He communicated through brief professional emails. Their only face-to-face interaction had been a single meeting where he outlined expectations and introduced her to the property portfolio. He had been courteous, distant, giving no indication of personal interest beyond employer concern. Emma told herself she was relieved. Complications would only jeopardize the stability she desperately needed. Yet she couldn't shake the memory of that moment in Romano's, when his gaze had truly seen her, or the grief in his voice when he spoke of Caroline and Sophia. October bled into November. Chicago's weather turned bitter, wind cutting through the city with Lake Michigan's relentless cold. Emma and Lily settled into routines, school mornings, work afternoons, evenings cooking in a kitchen that didn't require prayers for the stove to ignite. Mrs. Chen visited often, delighted by their improved circumstances and tactful enough not to ask too many questions. Then, 3 weeks into Emma's new position, her carefully constructed stability cracked. She was reviewing maintenance reports in her office when Thomas knocked on her door, his usual cheerful expression replaced with concern. "Emma, Vincent needs to see you immediately. His office, top floor." Emma's stomach dropped. Immediate summons rarely meant good news. Vincent's private office occupied the building's penthouse. Floor-to-ceiling windows offered panoramic views of Chicago's skyline. The space reflected its owner, powerful, controlled, revealing nothing unnecessary. Vincent stood by the windows, phone pressed to his ear, his free hand gesturing sharply as he spoke in rapid Italian. When he saw Emma, he ended the call abruptly. "Close the door," he instructed, his tone unreadable. Emma obeyed, her heart hammering. "Thomas said you needed to see me urgently. Your ex-husband contacted my office this morning." Vincent's words were clipped, controlled anger simmering beneath. "Daniel Rivera. He's attempting to claim rights to your new residence, suggesting that marital assets were improperly distributed during your divorce." The floor seemed to tilt beneath Emma's feet. "That's impossible. Daniel abandoned us. He signed away everything." "Legally, yes. But he's hired an attorney, Jonathan Kemp, known for aggressive tactics and dubious ethics. They're claiming that your sudden improved circumstances suggest hidden assets during divorce proceedings. They're threatening to involve Child Protective Services, suggesting that your employment and housing arrangement with me indicates, quote, inappropriate associations that may endanger the child. Rage and terror warred in Emma's chest. Daniel had left her with nothing, disappeared for 3 years, and now wanted to destroy the first security Lily had ever known. "He's trying to hurt us," Emma whispered. Not because he wants Lily, he never cared about her, but because he knows this will hurt me. Vincent moved closer, and Emma saw something dangerous in his expression. The glimpse of the man behind the businessman, someone capable of actions she probably shouldn't contemplate. Daniel Rivera made a miscalculation when he threatened what's under my protection. Your protection? Emma's voice shook. I'm just your employee. You're my employee, which makes you my responsibility. And Lily, Vincent's expression softened, almost imperceptibly. A child should never be weaponized by vindictive parents. I won't allow it. What are you going to do? Vincent returned to his desk and opened a file, his movements precise and controlled. Daniel owes considerable debts throughout Chicago, gambling primarily. He's borrowed from people who don't forgive or forget. I'm going to ensure those debts are called in immediately. Simultaneously, my attorneys will document every failure to pay child support, every violation of your custody agreement. We'll bury him in legal actions he can't afford to fight. Emma should have been shocked by the ruthless efficiency of Vincent's plan. Instead, she felt something close to gratitude. For years, she had fought alone, absorbing every blow Daniel delivered because she lacked the resources to fight back. Why? The question emerged quietly. Why protect us like this? Vincent looked up, and in that moment, Emma saw past the powerful exterior to the man still grieving his wife and daughter. Because Caroline would have. Because Sophia deserved protection I couldn't provide. Because sometimes the world gives us opportunities to do something right when we've done so much wrong. He stood and moved to the windows, Chicago's skyline stretching endlessly beyond. I've built an empire on influence and intimidation, Emma. I've made decisions that kept me awake at night. I've become someone Caroline wouldn't recognize. His voice dropped to barely audible. Maybe protecting you and Lily won't balance the scales, but it's something. It's a start. Emma approached slowly, standing beside him at the window. For a long moment, neither spoke. Thank you, Emma finally said, for seeing us, for caring. Vincent turned his head, and their eyes met with an intensity that made Emma's breath catch. In that charged silence, something unspoken shifted between them. Recognition, understanding, the dangerous beginning of something neither had anticipated. I need you to trust me, Vincent said quietly. Can you do that? Emma thought of Lily's laughter in their new home, of morning walks to school without fear, of the simple dignity of work that didn't leave her invisible. She thought of the man before her, powerful, dangerous, but somehow also kind in ways that mattered. Yes, she answered, I trust you. Vincent nodded once, a decision made. Then let me handle Daniel. You focus on Lily, focus on your life. I'll make sure no one threatens either again. As Emma left his office, she understood with absolute clarity that her life had changed irrevocably. Vincent Marcelli had offered her more than employment and housing. He had offered her protection, partnership, and perhaps, though neither was ready to name it yet, the beginning of something deeper. And for the first time since Daniel's betrayal, Emma allowed herself to hope.